On today's Locked On Giants podcast, we're taking a look at 3 fact or fiction scenarios for the New York Giants in the coming weeks. That is coming your way next here on the Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, credential member of the New York Giants media for Locked On, as well as for New York Giants on SI, which is where you can find my written work. And as always, welcome on in to my Blue Crew community members, especially my new Blue Crew community members, my everydayers, my newcomers, and everybody in between. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. It is appreciated. And today's Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, folks, happy Friday to everybody, first of all. On today's Locked On Giants podcast, we're going to do fact or fiction. Now, this is something I like to do every so often. It's a nice little fun game where a scenario is posed and I tell you whether I think it's fact or fiction, and I tell you why. And as always, I always encourage you guys, if you agree, disagree, take part in the conversation. You can post comments in the comment section underneath the video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you want to send me an email. If you're listening on our audio platforms, you can do that. But it's always a little fun game to get. So, all right, let's get started. I've got 3 for you. The first one, the top off-season storyline for the Giants is going to be that they have to draft a quarterback. Fact or fiction? I'm going to call this one fiction. What? You're probably saying, wait a minute. Aren't you the one who's been saying that they need a quarterback? Do you not know that the Giants need a quarterback? I know, guys. I absolutely positively do know that the Giants need a quarterback. But here's the thing here. I said that they have to draft a quarterback. I have been saying all along that I do not believe the Giants need to force a pick in the draft. Now, you think of a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and you probably say, well, it's got to be in the first round. The Giants are picking third. They have got to come out with a quarterback. Folks, I don't think that's the case. You can, so you're like, okay, well, what about the second round or sometime on day 2? Folks, I don't know if that's the case either. Now, hear me out on this before you say that I don't know what I'm talking about. This quarterback class right now, based on what we know to be true about this quarterback class, is not a very good one. All right? The Giants, while they desperately need a quarterback, they are not one player away. All right? So, that being said, yes, the Giants need a quarterback. They absolutely do. But to draft one, to force a pick on a guy that, maybe they like, maybe they don't like, I don't think that's the way to go. Now, let me give you a scenario here. Let's say that the Giants like Cam Ward, all right? And Giants picking third, they don't get Cam Ward. Cam Ward goes to either the Browns or the Titans. So if the Giants don't like Shedeur Sanders enough to draft him, or any of the other quarterbacks that are left on the board to draft them at number 3, do you really think that it makes sense for the Giants to force a pick at number 3 with a guy that maybe they don't have that kind of grade on? It doesn't. All right. I go back to last year. All right. We kind of knew the Giants were going to need a quarterback. They had their hearts set on either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. All right. They did not, contrary to what, we were hearing at the time, they were not as interested in J.J. McCarthy. They did not seem to have a high enough grade on Michael Penix. They did not seem to have a high enough grade on Bo Nix. So, when Jaden Daniels, Drake May were off the board, sure, the Giants could have drafted a quarterback, at number 6. They had, I think at the time, Bo Nix was on the board, Penix was on the board. They could have taken somebody, but they didn't. And that's how they have to approach this year in the draft. If the guy that they love, assuming that there is one that they absolutely love, is not on the board, then don't go and stretch and say, oh my God, we need a quarterback. So we've got to take, whatever's left over. That is the worst thing that this team could do. All right. So that being said, the veteran route is the way to go for this Giant team. I'm going to keep saying it until I have information to the contrary. The veteran route is the way to go. All right. Your veteran options include Justin Fields, Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz. All right. Now, another name that has popped up as a possibility, I don't know that they would do this, but I'll mention it here, is Derek Carr. Would they make a trade for Derek Carr, who is currently with the Saints? Let's take a look at some numbers here. Derek Carr in 2025 would have a $30 million cap hit with $10 million of his salary guaranteed for the acquiring team that were to trade for him. In 2026, he would have a $50 million cap hit, no money guaranteed. He would be 34 this year and 35 in 26. All right. Not old by any stretch of the imagination, a good age for a bridge guy. I would not make the trade for Derek Carr. This team, as I said before, is not one quarterback away. This team has a bunch of other needs. And in my mind, to trade assets away to get a Derek Carr would not be the way to go. So what I would do, and I've been saying this all along, you go and you sign a free agent. All right. It's going to cost you, yes, but they've got the cap space to do it. You sign that guy to a 3-year deal with an out after 2 years. And if you don't draft this year, and again, once you have a solid bridge quarterback, maybe that takes a little pressure off of you to force a draft pick somewhere, because this is not a deep quarterback class in 2025. 2026 is a deeper class. So you want to buy time. And if you can get yourself a good bridge quarterback, a good veteran bridge quarterback, that's the way to go. Now, some of you have asked me and said, well, what does that mean then for Brian Daboll and for Joe Schoen if they decide to do that? Especially given how it seems like they are really under pressure to get things back on track. Well, folks, if you get a solid bridge quarterback who can win you some games and give you solid quarterback play, and you use your draft and your other free agency salary cap resources to add to the holes, you might just have a little bit more of a competitive roster than you did this past year. So I don't think that Daboll and Shane's future is necessarily tied into whether or not they get a quarterback in the draft this year. I don't believe that is the case. I think that, again, get a solid guy in here who can, win you some games. And I think that would have been the plan anyway, even if the Giants were drafting first overall and they had their pick of the litter, so to speak. I think their plan, as I believe the plan was last year, would have been to get a young guy in here, let him sit for a while behind a veteran, and then at some point swap out and flip the switch, if you will, to the young guy. So yeah, folks, the Giants, would it be nice if they drafted a quarterback? If there was a good quarterback in this class that you could absolutely positively say is going to be the next Drake May or the next Jaden Daniels, absolutely, you go for it. Do they have one right now? based on what is known as of right now? No. Will that maybe change in the coming weeks? It could. But right now, no. So, yeah, I think it's fiction that the Giants have to draft a quarterback this year. They have to get one, yes. Draft one, I think they can maybe get away with not doing it this year. It's a gamble. I get it. I know it's not a popular opinion. I know some of you are going to write in and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do believe that uh, that that's the direction that the Giants are going to go in, based on what I know to be true today. That is. All right, coming up next, the sneakiest need on this Giants roster. What is it? I'll tell you what it is, and we'll discuss if it's fact or fiction. That's coming up right after this. Hey, Giant fans, it's playoff time. And if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and you want a chance to win real money while watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With Prize Picks, simply pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns, and for a chance to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in as few as 60 seconds or less. And whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want to cash out quickly, PrizePicks has you covered. And with over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving this platform. It's so easy to use. And did you know you could get paid out in as little as 15 minutes when your picks hit? Plus, the weekly promos like Taco Tuesday discounts add even more value to your lineups. And this week even has a free pick. For the NFC Championship game, Jaden Daniels only needs one, that's right, one passing yard for you to win one square. And here's a special offer for listeners of the Locked On NFL podcasts. Download the app today, use the promo code Locked On NFL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Hey, Giant fans, if you're looking to join an exclusive community of Big Blue Faithful where you can discuss the team and receive inside information in a toxic-free environment, then you need to check out the Locked On Giants Blue Crew community. Members get access to our exclusive by invitation only Discord channel where we can talk with one another, ask questions, get breaking news, and so much more. Plus, as part of the Locked On Giants Blue Crew, I text exclusive updates and info directly to your phone, and you can communicate with me one-on-one via text. So come see what it's all about with a free 14-day trial. And when you use our promo code Blue Crew, you will get your first 2 months after your 14-day trial ends at 50% off the regular price of $4.99 per month. If you don't like it, cancel before your trial ends and owe absolutely nothing. For more information or to register, visit joinsubtext.com/LockedOnNYGiants. And don't forget that promo code Blue Crew, BLUECREW, and enter that at the top of the page to get your 2-month discount after your free 14-day trial ends. Text and data rates may apply. Please see your carrier's plan for details. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. And coming up next week on the Locked On Giants podcast on Monday, I'm going to have Solomon Wilcots on the program with me. We're going to talk about the Giants offseason. We'll talk about the state of the NFL, a whole bunch of things. And Solomon's also going to talk about a new marketing initiative that he's involved with, which is really interesting. I think a lot of you are going to find this really interesting, especially those of you who maybe have knee joint pain. So I think you will find that interesting. And that will be on Monday's show as we continue to bring you Locked On Giants 5 days a week. No off season for us here. Plenty of to talk about coming up. Also next week, we're going to have the Shrine Bowl. We're going to have the Senior Bowl. So there is plenty we need to talk about. All right, let's get back to fact or fiction. The sneakiest roster need on the Giants is safety. Folks, that's a fact. That is a fact. All right. Now, we know that the Giants need help in a variety of areas: quarterback, defensive line, cornerback. But here's why safety is a sneaky need. All right. Jason Pinnock is going to be an unrestricted free agent. Jason Pinnock in this defense run by Shane Bowen this past year, let's just say the way he was deployed wasn't exactly a good fit for what Jason Pinnock does well. And specifically speaking, Jason Pinnock is really at his best when he's playing down in the box and he's also being asked to blitz. And I did a story on him actually on New York Giants on SI, why the Giants should keep him or move on from him. Jason Pinnock's blitz opportunities, believe it or not, were cut in half this year. So again, I question if he is a fit for what Shane Bowen wants to do. That being said, let's take a look at some recent history. All right, Jason Pinnock, even though he's a starting safety, last year Joe Shane didn't want to pay $17 million to retain Xavier McKinney, who might have been a better fit for this defense. If he didn't want to pay Xavier McKinney, what makes anybody think that he's going to want to pay Jason Pinnock, especially when there are safeties, good safeties, in this draft class? So I think that without a question, Jason Pinnock is not going to be back. I would be surprised if he is back. I think safety is a sneaky need for this team, one that I could see them addressing in the draft, right? Last year, remember, they took Tyler Nubin last year, and he started to come on well. I think they round out that starting safety group with another draft pick, possibly a day 2 pick. They also have Dane Belton. Dane Belton, I think one of the things that keeps holding him back a little bit is he's kind of built, kind of, I don't want to say frail, but he's more prone to being injured. And I think, if you're going to build up that safety position, you want to get a guy who's a little bit more sturdy, if you will, and his build and his durability. I don't know that Dane Belton really has that. Doesn't mean I think that he's a bad player and he can't do it. He certainly can, but it was interesting. Last year, if you remember in summer camp, he was competing with Tyler Nubin for that safety job. And at one point, he was ahead of him, but only because Nubin kind of fell behind a little bit because of injuries. And ultimately, Nubin took over the job. So I absolutely think that of all the sneaky needs on this team, and by the way, you could throw in receiver as a sneaky need too, because if Darius Slayton leaves, as I think he will, that's going to be a position that they're going to need to address as well. The wide receiver too, unless they can finally get Jalen Hyatt to finally fill that role. All right. So I would say of the two, wide receiver and safety, I got to give safety the nod as far as being the sneakiest need on this team as they get ready to go into the off season. And, there's a couple guys that I'm going to talk about coming up in another show when we start looking at draft picks and should they go draft, should they go free agency. I have a couple guys that I like in this draft class, guys that I actually went and did some film work and I'm hoping to see in one of these college all-star games. So that's going to come up. I told you we had a lot coming up here on the Locked On Giants podcast. So that is definitely going to come up. And we will certainly address that. We'll talk about that in a future show. All right, coming up next, the $1 million question: is Eli Manning a first ballot Hall of Famer? You all know how I feel about that, but we're going to discuss whether that's fact or fiction right after that. Hey, Giant fans, if you love going to live events, you need to check out GameTime. GameTime offers amazing selections of tickets at competitive prices, and they have made it so easy to get the tickets you want for your favorite events with their GameTime Picks feature, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. GameTime also offers flash deals to save you even more money on select events, and they make the ticket buying experience so easy. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So go on and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that promo code Locked On NFL, LOCKEDON NFL, to get $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. Hey, Giant fans, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools you need to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. They help you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, including those who aren't actively searching for a job but who might be open to the perfect role. I've been using LinkedIn Jobs myself to find new writers for New York Giants on SI, and I've just been amazed at the response I've gotten to my ad and the quality of candidates that I've had respond to my ad. It's just amazing. Um, Anyway, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours when they use LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They have a feature that helps you write job descriptions, and you can also set qualification questions to help weed out the unqualified candidates. So go on and find out why 2.5 million businesses use LinkedIn for hiring by posting your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, and we're doing fact and fiction to end this week before Championship Sunday. Go Commanders, by the way. And now we are up to our final point, okay? And this one, you guys know how I feel about this one. The question is, fact or fiction, is Eli Manning a first ballot Hall of Famer? I say fact. All right. Now, I do not know if he will get in on the first ballot. I think he should. I don't have a vote on this. I wish I did, because if I did, I would, be very, very active in this discussion, because Eli, I just felt, I don't know that he necessarily gets all the respect he should get from, around the league. People look at his record and they say, oh, he went 118 and 118 over his career. Yeah, okay. Aren't those games, though, the product of a team effort? Okay, by that logic, look at what he did in the playoffs, where he had a winning record, 2 Super Bowl victories, all right? Beat the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, including that historic Patriots team, twice, all right? But here's the other thing. When it came down to the clutch, Eli was there. All right. So let me give you some numbers. He had 27 fourth quarter comebacks, which ties him for 13 most amongst quarterbacks. That is, let me see, one more than what Joe Montana, who was in the Hall of Fame, has. It is twice as many as what Roger Staubach, who was known as Captain Comeback in his day, has. All right. So, you want clutch? Eli Manning was your guy, man. You can look at the Ironman streak. Eli never missed a game due to injury. He would probably still have the consecutive game streak broken had it not been for Ben McAdoo. So that's pretty impressive. And here's another thing. If you're looking for a reason to support Eli's candidacy for first ballot Hall of Fame, to this day, he holds the most postseason passing yards. Set in 2011, the record is 1,219. Okay, so for those of you who say, well, the 118 and 118 regular season record, I don't want to hear that, guys. Because look, for what it's worth, in the last few years of his career, the Giants didn't exactly help Eli Manning, right? His offensive line wasn't very good. The receivers, left something to be desired towards the end there. Towards the end there, the Giants tried to help Eli out by drafting Saquon Barkley. A lot of you say, well, why did they draft Saquon, number 2 overall? That was to take some of the onus off of Eli, because in those last few years before Saquon came on board, Eli was throwing for over 600 attempts, despite the fact he was getting up there in age. But look, dollar for dollar, pound per pound, Eli belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think we can all agree on that. He needs to be in on the first ballot. And if he doesn't get in on the first ballot, then I'm telling you, I'm going to lose all faith in my colleagues that vote for the Hall of Fame. And regardless of the decision, by the way, I do hope to get 1 or 2 of them on the show to discuss the decision if they are willing to do that. I don't know how secretive those discussions are, but if I can get one of them to come on, I certainly will. Now, Eli needs to be on the Hall of Fame this year. Now, if he doesn't get in, will he get in at some point down the line? Possibly. I think he should. But you kind of want to get him in, if you can, sooner than later. Because now, you run the risk of the years passing and whatnot. And look, he deserves to be in. I think there's no question about it. You can rattle off the franchise records that he has, and I know one of the arguments against Eli is going to be, well, he never won MVP, he never won the league passing yardage title or anything like that. All right, fine, but what's most important at the end of the day? Is it winning individual accolades, or is it winning games in clutch, especially in the postseason for your team? What is the goal here? What is the most important thing? In my mind, I think if I were a quarterback, I would gladly give up any kind of, league passing records or anything like that if it meant I could take my team to the Super Bowl and win games for them in the Super Bowl. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, is the ultimate goal that everybody aspires for. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that Eli Manning has done not once, but twice, and twice as the MVP of those games. All right, Giant fans, that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in, spending part of your day with us. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell so that you are notified every time we post new videos. And I will see you on Monday with Solomon Wilcox. Have a good weekend, everybody.